Ooh, it's a windy day. We're on the southwest area of Iceland, having just arrived there this morning. Already taking a drive out towards Skogafoss and Vik, and we just chanced upon these wonderful waterfalls on the way. Still at the big unnamed waterfall near Skogafoss, we have come to show you how rainbows are born. Isn't that beautiful? And now we are going to be silly buggers and go behind the waterfall. YouTube clip follows. Now, risking life and limb in Iceland, in the southwest, to go behind a waterfall so you don't have to. Come with me. This way. Magic. And now, the magic of Skogafoss. You will see more rainbows. Skogafoss. It's great narration, isn't it? Very intellectual. Very absorbing. It's quite damp here. From the top of Skogafoss. Welcome, YouTubers, to the southwest of Iceland. Goof and Ghost brings you scary shit from a great height. Welcome to just outside Vik, one of the southernmost points of Iceland. On the beach, genuine black sand. I just fell over in it, and it looks like you're covered in dirt, but you're not. You just swipe it off you, and there's not a trace left. And the waves here are much bigger than they tend to be in England, and more foamy waves. All made by trolls. You can just see the light shining through over there. That's the long cliff with the big hole through the middle of it. But we're not at the right angle to see it properly. Alright, moody shot of waves coming in. Needing Enya soundtrack. Not a great deal happening at the moment. Hopefully proper big wave come in a moment. Oh, here comes a big wave. Okay, YouTubers, though you wouldn't guess it, in the south of Iceland, we're actually at the edge of a glacier, but not much glacier at the moment. The glacier in question that's the tip of it, if it's covered in ice, but it's not, but it should be, is Sonnenheimersjökull. And it's a little finger on the edge of Middelsjökull, which apparently contains the volcano Katla, which is long overdue another explosion. And if we get one on here, that would be very impressive footage. Here is a big pile of giant poo. Okay, YouTubers, it's blowing an absolute gale, yet it's still August. Obviously, we're in part of the near the interior of Iceland, but we're still on the south coast-ish. This is actually in August, nevertheless, it's stunning and it's freezing cold. It is a real glacier. This is a corner of Sonnenheimersjökull. And to see it for real, it's amazing. It looks like it's steel. It's bizarre. Yet again, doing these things in Iceland so you don't have to. This is in the interior of Iceland. On Route 550, between a couple of glaciers. Ok is over there somewhere. The only hookah in Christendom is coming this way. Geitlandsjökull is over there somewhere. About to see it. And Flying Jökull, the second biggest glacier in Iceland, is beyond that. It's just a moonscape. Not quite as cold here as you'd think. Yes, it's windy, but it's not absolutely freezing. It's possible no one stood on this spot for years. We're halfway through the western interior of Iceland. Over there is Langjökull, second largest glacier in the country. Don't be fooled by the sun, it's very cold. This is Hraunafossa in the central part of Western Iceland. It's constructed from concrete, big water pump and radox in 1987. And this is at Barnafoss. YouTubers, and look at the force of this baby. Just chanced upon this by accident. I'm in the Reykholt in technically West Iceland, and I'm right up the far end of Snorri's Passage. He was an Icelandic hero that was murdered in this passage here in 1241. What he did that was so heroic, I don't know. There's a statue of him outside. I think it's because he might have been the first man who had the balls to walk around wearing dresses in Iceland. But this passage uncovered in 1931. It's not very long, unfortunately, but it's real. And down there, truly, a piece of newspaper with a date 1938 on it. I don't know if that's real or not. It probably isn't. And out to the real world, we have Snorri's pool, which is actually quite warm. And there, a troll. Thank you, Linus. And this is the oldest standing stone structure in Iceland. Yes, it's circular. And the water's about as warm as just a warm bath, which is nice. About the size of a slim power teller. This is Victoria, northern side of the west coast. That's all the cliff. I don't know what that is. Here's a tiny lighthouse. It's quite cold. You might have seen an elf passing by. They do that here. We're meant to be getting a ferry to Flatty tomorrow morning to stay there all day, but because of engine problems, it's not stopping. We're taking this great big diversion to go there. This is the ferry to Flatty Island from Stikisode. So technically we're in the Atlantic. Okay, so we're on Flatty Island in the west of the country. You should see two puffins down there. We were dive bombed by Arctic terns getting here. And look at all the puffins out there. Can you see them? So we're still on Flatty Island. We've been dive bombed mercilessly by Arctic terns, and the only way to stop them is by holding a big stick or something way above your head, because they dive bomb the highest point. So I've actually got my umbrella fully open. Mary Poppins is well pissed off because I've nicked her idea. There's some sheep over there. Scary nature program. And not a single one's pooed on me yet. At the edge of Flatty Island, it's a nature reserve in Iceland, and completely unbeknownst to us, we came across this strange idol. Little scared that it might be connected to Blair Witch Project in some way, 'cause it's not mentioned in the books. That fell off. Yes, it really did. And amongst this pile of stuff down here, shells and stuff, there's lots of bones as well. It's a little bizarre. On Flatty Island, a couple of bits of wrecked ships. This one was actually pulled ashore by Arctic terns, who then dismantled it, wrecked it, ate the owners, Linus and Daniel. And there's a house thing over there that contains a dead flat sheep, been a bit eerie. And over there is Flatty Church. Okay, inside Flatty Church, murals I think were painted in the 1930s, all along the ceiling. Big raven there. And over here, Jesus in a jumper. The two local fishermen who like the feel of wool. A couple of sheep, ignoring the dive bombs by the local terns. There's a man doing doing something, and a couple of women doing stuff. We are now on some unknown part of the West Fjords in Iceland. Although it's August, it is quite cold. We're on the way to Breivik. And to think we nearly didn't come here. We're at Lathrabjarg, which is the westernmost point of Europe. Sheer cliff face in front of us. And look at the puffins! I'm literally 6 feet away from them. They are everywhere. Silence up here, except for me talking. It's the voice of a distant troll. There's a vehicle coming around, you have to move. The fjord around Dinjadi waterfall in the West Fjords of Iceland. Precursors to Hundafoss, and the big beast itself there. The waterfall Dinjadi in all its majesty. A final close-up shot of Dinjadi. It means the thundering one. It's 100 meters tall. It's 30 meters across the top, and it widens to 60 meters along the bottom. And it's entirely artificial. Ísafjörður in the north, excuse me, of Iceland. A very isolated place. Of course it's raining, but it's interesting to see just how high up we must be here because of the low level of the cloud. It must seem a very isolated community. You're surrounded by mountains and things pretty much on all sides. Even at the open side there's still mountains beyond. And it feels isolated. This is Skalavik, which is at the end of a track several kilometers from Bolungarvík. This makes this the northernmost point of western Iceland. At least as far as a car can get. There are more northern points in another part of the West Fjords, but there's no roads, no tracks, nothing. It's completely inhospitable. Not that this is hospitable. Apparently, where we are standing now has the worst weather in all of Iceland. And yeah, it's raining. This is Bolungarvík, the northernmost town of any import in Iceland. Probably the northernmost town, period. There is a smaller place. This is really a village somewhere else. This is Holmavik in the southeastern part of the West Fjords. It's still raining. There's not a great deal here, but there is the Museum of Icelandic Sorcery and Witchcraft, which is right here, which we've just visited, and which stands on the site of the house of possibly Iceland's first ghost hunter. Ooh. At the remains of the herring factory in Djúpavik, one of the most remote parts of the West Fjords of Iceland. It was shut down in 1955, only ran for 20 years. At one time it was the most extensive concrete structure in Europe, and this is the inside of some big tower thing, and I'm just putting the camera in here. I can't get in, and I wouldn't even if I could, but that's the interior of it, should you be able to see. Very unusual. The waterfall that runs down towards the fjord at Djúpavik, a remote village consisting of only half a dozen houses in the West Fjords of Iceland. And over there is the remains of the ICELAND, which was a large cargo and passenger ship. It's over 100 years old, and it ran aground here many years ago, and it's now just a rusting hulk. There's nothing in the interior. As you can see, even the outside is completely rusting away, and it's very sinister and bizarre, just as you'd like it to be. We're miles from anywhere. Smashing hotel just around the corner, very old building. See the clouds over the mountains. It's an Arctic tern. They're vicious bastards. And the remains of the herring factory, shut over half a century ago, but still standing. Stop this because we are making the sound check now. Earlier on, so just bear with us. And they made sound check or something, and people were standing around and we made a joke. At Djupavik, in the West Fjords of Iceland, on yet another rainy day. This is the actual water tower in which Sigur Rós played guitar jam for the upcoming documentary. They crawled through this hole and they went inside, and you hear the reverb in here. I've never heard anything like it. That's bizarre. You can still see the filaments on the floor. This is where the fish oil was heated, so it kept a constant temperature. This is inside the sorcerer's cottage. Shut up at Kluka, and it absolutely stinks. It's probably too dark to see anything with this. That's Kluka, still in the West Fjords of Iceland. And this is the sorcerer's cottage from the outside, less stinky than the inside. This is on Route 1 between Bru and Borgarnes, and this is Cat's Arch. There is an Icelandic pronunciation, but as per usual I can't understand it. One of the earliest concrete bridges in Iceland used to be the route towards Akureyri. We stopped here last December, and a brilliant view then. And the picture I took of it has been the desktop on my, the wallpaper on my desktop for ages. The little waterfall up there is completely frozen in winter. It looks far more grand than it does today. It's a lovely spot. One can almost forget one has to fly back to England tomorrow.